The conference room fell silent as Marcus Bennett clicked to the final slide. Every executive leaned forward, absorbed. The presentation glowed on the screen. Charts I'd perfected at midnight, data models I'd restructured 17 times, risk assessments I'd built from scratch while my coffee went cold. Marcus smiled, adjusted his tie, and said the words that made my blood freeze. And that's how I delivered the most successful product launch in company history. Applause erupted. Handshakes followed. I sat 3 seats down, invisible. My name hadn't been mentioned once. Not in the introduction. Not in the breakdown. Not even in the acknowledgments slide I knew used to exist because I'd written it myself. This wasn't an oversight. This was theft. I glanced at Marcus. He didn't look back. His jaw tightened just slightly, a warning I recognized immediately. Don't say a word. That's when everything became clear. This wasn't a mistake. This was the plan all along. My name is Victoria Hayes. I'm 34 years old, and for the past 6 years, I've worked as a senior product strategist at Apex Innovations, a mid-sized tech company in Seattle. People always told me I was good at what I did. Clients requested me, specifically. My project success rate was 93%, the highest in the department. I didn't chase attention. I chased results. I believed that good work spoke for itself, that loyalty mattered, that doing the right thing eventually led somewhere better. I was wrong about all of it. The man stealing my work that morning was Marcus Bennett, Vice President of Product Development. 42 years old. 15 years with the company. Respected. Connected. Untouchable. He'd been my direct supervisor for 3 years. I'd trusted him completely. I'd worked weekends when he asked. I'd covered for his mistakes without complaint. I'd believed him when he promised me things would change. Watching him accept praise for work I'd bled over taught me something I should have learned years ago. Trust isn't earned by titles. It's proven by actions. And Marcus had just shown me exactly who he was. 3 months earlier, everything had felt different. Marcus appeared in my office doorway one Thursday afternoon, coffee in hand, expression serious. He closed the door behind him. That alone made me pay attention. He never closed doors. "Victoria," he said, leaning against my desk. "I need you on something big. The Catalyst project." I knew what that meant. Catalyst was the company's attempt to break into the enterprise software market. High stakes, high visibility, career-making if it succeeded, career-ending if it failed. The board wants a full rollout strategy in 3 months, Marcus continued. I told them I had someone who could handle it. He paused. "Deliver this, and the senior director position is yours. I'll make sure of it." I should have asked for that in writing. I should have questioned why he suddenly cared about my career advancement. Instead, I smiled and said, "I'll start tomorrow." That was my first mistake. Believing a promise costs nothing to make. The weeks that followed blurred together. I worked 70-hour weeks. I missed my sister's engagement party. I rescheduled dinner plans with friends. So many times they stopped inviting me. My apartment became a place I slept 4 hours a night before returning to the office. The Catalyst project consumed everything. I built the market analysis from scratch. I researched competitor strategies, identified gaps, and developed entry points nobody had considered. I created financial models that balanced aggressive growth with sustainable risk. I designed the implementation timeline, coordinating with 6 different departments, managing conflicts, solving problems that didn't have obvious solutions. Marcus checked in occasionally. "Great progress," he'd say. "Keep going." He never asked questions, never offered guidance, never contributed anything beyond vague encouragement. I didn't notice. I was too focused on building something that mattered. Every night, I'd send him updated reports. Every morning, I'd find short responses. "Looks good. Nice work." Sent to board when ready. I saved every email. I documented every contribution. Not because I suspected anything. Because I was thorough. Because that's what good project managers do. Because I thought I was building a future, not evidence. 2 weeks before the board presentation, something shifted. Marcus started responding to my emails with one-word answers. He stopped asking about progress. When I'd pass him in the hallway, he'd look away. During team meetings, he'd cut me off mid-sentence, rephrasing my updates as if I hadn't just said the exact same thing. I told myself I was imagining it. Stress made people paranoid. Then HR scheduled a performance review I hadn't requested. The email came from Marcus, copied to the department head. Standard procedure, the message said. Nothing to worry about. But I'd never had an unscheduled review before. Nobody did unless something was wrong. I called my colleague Adrian, who'd been with the company longer than anyone. Did Marcus say anything to you? I asked. About what? About me. About Catalyst. About anything. Adrian hesitated. That pause told me everything. Just be careful, Victoria. Marcus has a pattern. What pattern? Promoting himself. Adrian hung up before I could ask what that meant. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept replaying conversations, searching for clues I'd missed. The performance review happened in Marcus's office, door closed, HR representative present. They told me my work was satisfactory. Not exceptional. Satisfactory. The word landed like a slap. You've been meeting expectations, Marcus said, looking at papers instead of me. But leadership requires more visibility, more strategic thinking. I stared at him. The Catalyst project is strategic thinking. The Catalyst project is a team effort, he corrected. You've contributed, but it's important to recognize everyone's role. His tone was calm, reasonable, dismissive. The HR representative took notes without meeting my eyes. I realized then that this meeting had a purpose, and it wasn't about my development. It was about building a record, something they could point to later, something that justified what came next. Is there something specific you need from me? I asked. Marcus smiled. It didn't reach his eyes. Just keep doing what you're doing, Victoria. Stay in your lane. That's where you're most valuable. Stay in your lane. Those words echoed in my head for days. Not because they were harsh. Because they were calculated. He was boxing me in. Making sure I knew my place. Making sure I understood the promotion he'd promised was never real. The promotion announcement came exactly 1 week before the board presentation. They called an all-hands meeting. Everyone gathered, expecting news about Catalyst. Instead, the chief operating officer announced they were restructuring leadership. No new senior director position would be created. Budget constraints, he explained. We're prioritizing operational efficiency. Marcus stood beside him, nodding sympathetically. After the meeting, people approached me. I'm sorry, they said. You deserve that role. I smiled and thanked them. Inside, I felt hollow. That evening, Marcus stopped by my desk. The office had emptied. Just us and the hum of fluorescent lights. I know you're disappointed, he said quietly. I fought for you. But sometimes these decisions are out of our hands. I looked at him. Really looked at him. He wasn't apologetic. He was relieved. The board presentation is still happening, he continued. I'll need your final report by tomorrow. We're going to make a great impression. He walked away before I could respond. That's when I understood. He'd never intended to share credit. He'd needed my work, not me. And now that he had it, I was just an inconvenience. I didn't cry that night. I didn't call my sister or my friends. I didn't rage or break things or write angry emails I'd delete later. I opened my laptop and started organizing files. Every email Marcus had sent me. Every report I delivered. Every time-stamped revision of every document. I created a folder labeled Catalyst, Complete Archive. I backed it up in 3 different places. Cloud storage, external drive, printed copies in a folder at home. If he wanted to erase me, I'd make sure the evidence existed. I wasn't planning revenge. Not yet. I was just protecting the truth. Because I'd learned something important in that hollow moment after the promotion vanished. The only person responsible for protecting your work is you. The only person who will fight for your value is you. Organizations don't care about fairness. They care about convenience. And if erasing you is convenient, they'll do it without hesitation. So I built my case, piece by piece, because someday someone might ask questions. And when they did, I'd have answers nobody could deny. The board presentation was scheduled for Thursday morning at 9. Marcus sent me the final deck Wednesday night. I opened it immediately. My name appeared nowhere. Not in the contributors section. Not in the research credits. Not even in the fine print. The cover slide read, Catalyst Project, Market Entry Strategy. Presented by Marcus Bennett, VP of Product Development. My stomach turned. I scrolled through 47 slides. Every chart, every graph, every strategic recommendation. All mine. All credited to him. He changed my language slightly, smoothing phrases, adding corporate jargon. But the substance was identical. The ideas, the frameworks, the analysis, all stolen. I closed my laptop and sat in the dark. Tomorrow, Marcus would stand in front of the board and claim my work as his own. And I'd be expected to sit there silently, watching it happen. Unless I didn't. Unless I let him dig his own grave. Arrogance grows fastest when unchallenged. If I stayed quiet now, let him build his confidence, let him believe he'd won, eventually he'd make a mistake. Someone would ask a question he couldn't answer. Someone would notice inconsistencies. Truth has a way of surfacing when lies get comfortable. I just needed to wait. Thursday morning arrived cold and gray. I dressed carefully, professional but unremarkable. I wanted to blend into the background, be forgotten, become part of the furniture. The board met on the 8th floor in a glass-walled conference room. 12 executives, the CEO, the CFO, department heads I'd never spoken to. Marcus arrived early, shaking hands, laughing at jokes, confident. He glanced at me once. Just once. A flicker of concern crossed his face, then vanished. He thought I'd stay quiet. He thought I'd learn my lesson. I took a seat near the back. Not at the main table. Close enough to see everything. Far enough to be ignored. Marcus started his presentation exactly on time. His voice was smooth, practiced. He spoke about market analysis, competitive positioning, risk mitigation. He used my words, my frameworks, my conclusions. The executives nodded, impressed. Someone asked about the financial projections. Marcus answered without hesitation, citing numbers I'd calculated. Another question came about customer segmentation. Again, he responded confidently, using insights I'd uncovered through weeks of research. He was good at this. Polished. Believable. For 30 minutes, I watched him perform my work. Nobody questioned him. Nobody looked at me. I became invisible. And that, I realized, was exactly where I needed to be. The presentation ended with applause. Marcus smiled, collected his materials, and began answering follow-up questions. The executives leaned back, satisfied. The hard part was over. They'd seen enough. Then Jordan Caldwell, the chief strategy officer, raised her hand. Marcus, before we move forward, she said, I'd like to understand your decision-making process on Phase 3 implementation. Marcus blinked. Of course. Specifically, Jordan continued, the risk mitigation model. You structured it unusually. Most firms would prioritize regulatory compliance first, but you inverted the sequence. Why? The room went quiet. Marcus looked at the slide behind him. The risk model glowed on the screen, color-coded, detailed, complex. I'd spent 4 days building that model. I'd researched industry standards, interviewed compliance experts, and tested 3 different frameworks before settling on the inverted approach. It was unconventional. It was also brilliant. And Marcus had no idea why it worked. Well, he began slowly. The market conditions suggested. Which market conditions? Jordan asked. She wasn't hostile, just curious, genuinely interested in understanding the strategy. Marcus opened his mouth, closed it, looked at me. I kept my expression neutral. Could you elaborate on the data sources? Another executive asked. Marcus shifted his weight. The research indicated. Which research? The questions kept coming. Not aggressive, just specific, technical, detailed. The kind of questions someone who built a strategy could answer instantly. The kind Marcus couldn't answer at all. Jordan Caldwell turned toward me. Victoria, you're familiar with this project, correct? Every head in the room swiveled. Marcus's face went pale. Yes, I said quietly. You were part of the development team? Jordan asked. I paused. The room held its breath. I built the strategic framework, I said evenly. All of it. Silence crashed down like a wave. Jordan's expression didn't change. She just nodded slowly. Then perhaps you can explain the Phase 3 decision. I stood. My hands were steady. My voice was calm. This wasn't about anger. This was about truth. I walked to the front of the room, stood beside the screen, and began explaining. I broke down the risk model step by step. I explained why regulatory compliance came second, citing specific case studies and market failures that informed the decision. I referenced the data sources, named the experts I'd consulted, outlined the testing process. Every question they asked, I answered. Clearly, precisely, without hesitation. Because I'd built this. Every cell in every spreadsheet, every assumption in every model, every word in every slide. It was mine, and everyone in that room could suddenly see it. Marcus stood frozen beside me, his face a mask of barely controlled panic. Nobody was looking at him anymore. They were looking at me, seeing me, maybe for the first time. Jordan asked another question, then another. For 20 minutes, I walked them through the entire strategy. Not because I wanted to humiliate Marcus, because they deserved to understand what they were approving. Because good strategy requires clear explanation. Because lies collapse under scrutiny, but truth gets stronger the more you examine it. When I finished, the room sat silent. Not uncomfortable silence, the kind that follows something important. Jordan closed her notebook. Thank you, Victoria. That was extraordinarily clear. The CEO leaned forward. Marcus, do you have anything to add? Marcus looked at me, then at the executives, then at the door. I think Victoria covered it well, he said quietly. His voice had lost its confidence. Actually, Jordan said, I have a process question. This presentation lists you as the sole contributor, but it seems Victoria led the development work. Can you clarify your specific role? The question hung in the air like smoke. Marcus swallowed. I supervised the project. Provided guidance. What guidance specifically? Jordan wasn't hostile. Just factual. Marcus had no answer. The CEO's expression hardened. He glanced at Jordan, who nodded slightly. Let's take a 15-minute break, the CEO said. Marcus, Jordan, please stay. Victoria, could you wait outside? I gathered my materials and walked out. Through the glass wall, I watched them talking. Marcus gesturing. Jordan shaking her head. The CEO's face growing darker. I sat in the hallway, heart pounding, and waited for whatever came next. 20 minutes later, Marcus emerged. He didn't look at me. His face was gray, jaw tight. He walked past like I didn't exist and disappeared into the elevator. Jordan appeared in the doorway. Victoria, can you come back in? I returned to the conference room. The atmosphere had changed. Heavier. More serious. We've asked HR to review project documentation, Jordan said. Specifically, emails and file histories related to Catalyst. I nodded. Of course. In the meantime, the CEO added, we'd like you to finish presenting. Walk us through the implementation timeline. Your timeline, not Marcus's timeline. Mine. For the next hour, I presented my work the way I'd always intended. Completely. Honestly. Without anyone else taking credit. The executives asked smart questions. I gave detailed answers. They took notes. They understood not just what I'd built, but why it mattered. When I finished, the CEO stood and shook my hand. This is exceptional work, Victoria. Truly exceptional. Jordan walked me to the elevator. The HR review will take a few days, she said quietly. But between us, we checked the file metadata before you came back in. Every major document was created and edited by you. The timestamps don't lie. I didn't respond. He's done this before, hasn't he? Jordan asked. I met her eyes. I don't know, but I'm not the first person who trusted him. She nodded. Thank you for speaking up. A lot of people wouldn't have. The elevator doors closed. I rode down 8 floors, walked out into the gray Seattle morning, and finally let myself breathe. The HR investigation moved quickly. Too quickly for Marcus to control the narrative. They pulled every email, every file revision, every meeting note. The evidence was overwhelming. I'd written 97% of the Catalyst strategy. Marcus had contributed 2 emails with generic feedback and 1 spreadsheet he'd copied from my original model with minor formatting changes. The metadata showed everything. Creation dates, edit histories, author names, digital fingerprints Marcus couldn't erase or explain away. By Friday afternoon, the whispers had started. By Monday morning, everyone knew. Marcus stopped coming to the office. Officially, he was on administrative leave pending review. Unofficially, he was finished. Adrian stopped by my desk that week. "I should have warned you sooner," he said. "About Marcus's pattern." "What pattern exactly?" I asked. Adrian sighed. 3 years ago, he did the same thing to someone named Tyler. Amazing strategist. Built an entire market expansion plan. Marcus presented it as his own. Tyler complained to HR. Somehow, Marcus made it sound like Tyler was being insubordinate. Tyler left within 6 months. Why didn't anyone stop him? Adrian shrugged. Marcus was connected. Tyler wasn't. Sometimes organizations protect the wrong people because it's easier than admitting they made a mistake promoting them. Until they can't ignore it anymore, I said. Until they can't ignore it anymore, Adrian agreed. 2 weeks after the board presentation, Jordan Caldwell called me into her office. "Victoria, I'll be direct. We've completed the investigation. Marcus Bennett has resigned, effective immediately." I nodded. I'd expected this. He was given the option to face formal termination proceedings or resign quietly. He chose resignation. "What happens to the Catalyst project?" I asked. "You'll lead it," Jordan said. "The board voted unanimously this morning. We're creating the senior director position we should have created 3 months ago. It's yours if you want it." I sat back. This was what I'd worked for. What Marcus had promised and stolen. Now it was real. But something felt different. The promotion didn't feel like victory. It felt like compensation. "Can I think about it?" I asked. Jordan raised an eyebrow. "Most people would have said yes immediately." "I'm not most people." "No," Jordan said, smiling slightly. "You're not. Take the time you need. But Victoria, whether you accept or not, you've already changed things here. People saw what happened. They watched you handle it with integrity. That matters." I left her office with more questions than answers. Did I want to stay at a company that had let Marcus operate unchecked for years? Did I want to build my career in a place that only valued me after I'd proven myself under fire? Or did I want something different entirely? That night, I called my sister. "They offered me the promotion," I said. "Finally. So why don't you sound happy?" "Because it feels like they're rewarding me for surviving something that never should have happened." My sister was quiet for a moment. "So what do you want?" I didn't know yet, but I knew I'd figure it out. I spent the weekend thinking. Not about Marcus. Not about revenge. About what I actually wanted from my career. I'd spent 6 years at Apex Innovations believing that hard work and loyalty mattered most. That good work spoke for itself. That organizations rewarded merit. Those beliefs had been tested, and they'd failed. But that didn't mean I had to become cynical. It meant I needed to be smarter. More strategic, less trusting of promises, and more demanding of proof. Monday morning, I walked into Jordan's office. "I'll take the position," I said. "But I have conditions." Jordan leaned back, intrigued. "I'm listening. First, I want full authority over team selection. No one gets assigned to my projects without my approval. Reasonable. Second, I want transparent documentation. Every project I lead gets proper attribution in all presentations, reports, and board materials. My name. My team's names. No ambiguity. Also reasonable. Third, I want a formal mentorship program where I can support other people who might be getting erased. So what happened to me doesn't happen to someone else." Jordan studied me for a long moment. "You're not just asking for a promotion. You're asking to change how we operate." "Yes." "Why?" "You already won. You could take the title and move on." I met her eyes. "Because winning for myself isn't enough. If Marcus could do this to me, he did it to others. And if he did it, other people in this company probably are too. I want to fix that." Jordan smiled. "Done. All 3 conditions. I'll draft the paperwork today." We shook hands. This time, the promotion felt different. Not like compensation. Like a beginning. My first week as senior director was strange. People treated me differently. With more respect. More caution. Some congratulated me warmly. Others avoided eye contact, probably wondering if they'd ever dismissed my ideas in meetings, if they'd contributed to the culture that let Marcus operate unchecked. I didn't hold grudges, but I remembered. I restructured my team carefully. I brought in people I trusted. I established clear protocols. Every project would have transparent documentation, regular check-ins, and shared credit. No more invisible labor. No more stolen work. The Catalyst project moved forward successfully. We launched phase 1 ahead of schedule. Client feedback was overwhelmingly positive. Revenue projections exceeded expectations. At the quarterly board meeting, I presented the results. This time, my name was on every slide. This time, when executives asked questions, I answered them because I'd done the work. This time, the applause felt earned. After the meeting, the CEO approached me. "You've handled this situation with remarkable professionalism, Victoria. A lot of people would have burned bridges." "I considered it," I admitted. "What stopped you?" I realized that burning bridges would have proven Marcus right. That I was emotional, unprofessional, difficult. Instead, I let my work speak for itself. The CEO nodded. "Well, it spoke very clearly. Thank you for staying." I didn't tell him that staying had been a choice, not a given. That I'd seriously considered leaving. That trust, once broken, doesn't rebuild overnight. But I'd chosen to stay because leaving would have felt like losing. And I'd lost enough already. 3 months into my new role, I received an unexpected email. The sender's name made my chest tighten, Marcus Bennett. I stared at the message for a full minute before opening it. The subject line read, an apology. Inside, the email was short. "Victoria, I know I don't deserve your time or attention. But I wanted you to know I understand what I did was wrong. I stole your work. I betrayed your trust. I convinced myself it was justified because I was under pressure, because I contributed in other ways, because the company needed me to succeed. Those were lies I told myself to avoid accountability. You deserve that promotion. You deserved credit for Catalyst. You deserved basic respect and honesty. Instead, I took what was yours and tried to erase you. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I'm not asking for anything. I just wanted you to know that I see now what I couldn't see then. You were always the stronger professional. I'm sorry. Marcus, I read it twice. Then I closed it without responding. Some apologies don't require answers. Some people need to sit with their guilt without the relief of forgiveness. Marcus had taken enough from me. He wouldn't get my absolution too. I deleted the email and moved on with my day. He was part of my past now, not my future. 6 months after the board presentation that changed everything, I stood in front of a different room. Not executives. New hires. 23 people just starting their careers at Apex Innovations. Jordan had asked me to speak at orientation about professional development. I could have given them generic advice. Work hard. Stay positive. Believe in yourself. Instead, I told them the truth. 3 years from now, I began. Someone might try to take credit for your work. They'll be senior, connected, trusted, and you'll have to decide how to respond. The room went quiet. You'll be told to stay in your lane, to not overestimate your visibility, to accept that leadership requires sacrifices you didn't agree to make. I paused, and when that happens, you'll have a choice. You can stay silent and hope things improve. You can leave and start over somewhere else. Or you can document everything, protect your work, and trust that truth eventually finds a way to surface. I saw some people nodding. Others looked uncomfortable. I'm not telling you what to choose, but I am telling you to be prepared. Because if you do good work, someone will eventually try to claim it. And when that happens, make sure you've protected yourself. After the presentation, several people approached me. One woman, barely 23, asked quietly, "Did that really happen to you?" "Yes." "What did you do?" I smiled. I waited for the right moment. Then I let the truth speak for itself. She nodded, understanding more than she said. That's when I realized the real victory wasn't the promotion or the recognition. It was this, standing in front of people just starting out and giving them tools I wish someone had given me. A year after everything changed, I attended a leadership conference in San Francisco. Between sessions, I grabbed coffee in the hotel lobby. A woman approached, mid-40s, confident. "Victoria Hayes?" she asked. "Yes. I'm Denise Porter. I used to work with Marcus Bennett. Different company, same pattern." My stomach tightened. "I heard what happened at Apex," Denise continued. "How you handled it. I wanted to thank you. For what? For not staying quiet. For making him face consequences. He did the same thing to me 8 years ago. I complained. Nothing happened. I left the company instead. She paused. But you stayed. And you won. That matters. We talked for 20 minutes. Denise told me her story, similar to mine, but with a different ending. She'd rebuilt her career elsewhere, but the experience had left scars. Before she left, she handed me her card. If you ever want to collaborate on changing how companies handle these situations, call me. There are more of us than you think. I took the card. That conversation planted a seed. What if the real work wasn't just fixing things at Apex? What if it was bigger? What if there were systems and structures that needed changing across entire industries? That night, I started researching. How many people experienced what I had? How many stayed silent? How many left? How many were believed? The numbers were staggering. And somewhere in those numbers, I found my next project. Not a product launch. Not a market strategy. Something that mattered more. But that's a different story for a different time. I'm still at Apex Innovations. Still a senior director. Still leading projects that matter. But I'm different now. More careful about trust. More insistent on documentation. More willing to speak up when something feels wrong. The Catalyst project succeeded beyond expectations. We expanded into 4 new markets. Revenue increased by 40%. The strategy one built became a case study taught in business schools. My name is on it now. Where it always should have been. People still ask me about Marcus sometimes. What happened to him? Whether I feel vindicated. The truth? I don't think about him much anymore. He was a chapter in my story, not the whole book. I learned something important from that experience, though. Your work is only as protected as you make it. Your value is only as recognized as you demand it to be. Organizations won't fight for you. You have to fight for yourself. That doesn't mean being aggressive or difficult. It means being strategic, documenting your contributions, building relationships with people who matter, and knowing when to speak up, even when staying quiet feels safer. The board asked one question that changed everything. But I'd already done the work to make sure I could answer it. That's the real lesson. Be so undeniably good at what you do that when someone tries to take credit, the truth becomes impossible to hide. Last month, I promoted someone from my team. Her name is Ashley Reeves, 29 years old, brilliant strategist, hardworking, underestimated. During her promotion announcement, I made sure her name was mentioned first. I listed her contributions specifically. I let everyone know exactly what she'd accomplished. After the meeting, she stopped by my office. Thank you, she said quietly. For what? For seeing me. For making sure other people saw me too. I understood what she meant. Visibility isn't automatic. Someone has to create it. You earned it, I told her. I just made sure you got credit for what you built. Ashley left, and I sat alone in my office, thinking about how far I'd come. From invisible labor to stolen credit to public vindication to leadership that actually meant something. The journey had been painful, but it had also been necessary. Because now I understood something I didn't before. Power isn't about titles. It's about knowing your worth and refusing to let anyone diminish it. It's about protecting not just yourself, but the people coming up behind you. It's about changing systems, not just surviving them. That's what I'm building now. Not just a career. A legacy of making sure people like me, people who do the work, get the recognition they deserve. And that's worth more than any promotion Marcus Bennett could have stolen. If you're reading this, maybe you've experienced something similar. Maybe you're watching someone else take credit for your work right now. Maybe you're wondering whether to speak up or stay quiet. I can't tell you what to do. Every situation is different. But I can tell you what I learned. First, document everything. Every email. Every contribution, every conversation. Not because you're paranoid, but because truth needs evidence. Second, choose your moment carefully. Don't react emotionally. Don't explode in anger. Wait for the right opportunity when truth can speak clearly. Third, protect yourself, but don't become cynical. Yes, some people will try to take what you've built, but others will recognize and value you. Find those people. Fourth, know your worth. Not what your boss tells you you're worth. What you actually contribute. What you actually achieve. Fifth, Don't be afraid to walk away if necessary. Sometimes leaving is winning. 6th, if you stay, change things. Don't just survive broken systems. Fix them. And finally, remember this. You are not defined by what someone else tried to take from you. You're defined by how you respond when they try. I responded by protecting the truth, by speaking up when it mattered, by turning a moment of theft into an opportunity for growth. You can too. The board asked one question that changed everything. But I had already built something strong enough to withstand scrutiny. Build your work that's strong. Protect it that carefully. And when your moment comes, answer clearly. The truth will do the rest. I don't know where Marcus Bennett is now. I don't look him up. I don't track his career. He's irrelevant to my story now. What matters is what I built after he tried to erase me. The promotions, the successful projects, the people I've mentored, the systems I've changed. That's my legacy. Not what was stolen, what I created in response. Last week, I received an award at an industry conference. Excellence in Strategic Leadership. When I accepted it, I didn't talk about myself. I talked about Ashley and the other people on my team. I talked about the importance of transparent credit and honest recognition. I talked about building cultures where everyone's contributions matter. The applause afterward felt different from that morning in the boardroom a year ago. That applause had been for work someone else claimed. This applause was for work I'd done openly, proudly, with my name attached. And standing there, holding that award, I realized something important. I'd won. Not because Marcus failed, but because I'd refused to let his theft define me. I'd refused to become bitter or cynical. I'd refused to shrink. Instead, I'd grown. Stronger, smarter, more effective. The real victory wasn't revenge. It was becoming someone who could prevent what happened to me from happening to others. That's what changed everything. Not a question. A choice. The choice to rise. The choice to rebuild. The choice to matter. And I chose it. Every single day.